Links, and how are you today? Great to see you. Today I am not doing a wine video, amazingly. Today I am doing a beer recipe. Not how to make beer, but how to adapt beer for Christmas. I was doing some research online into mulled wine and how to make the most awesome, epic mulled wine so I can really do a video about mulled wine closer to Christmas, and I came across this recipe. This recipe is for buttered beer. You might have heard of it from Harry Potter. Yes, that's right, Harry Potter and his crew apparently drank buttered beer. But that was a non-alcoholic version. Non-alcoholic. What? So this recipe here today is the alcoholic buttered version of that Harry Potter drink. This recipe for buttered beer comes from a book from Tudor times, from 1588, and this is the oldest recorded recipe for buttered beer. So it should be awesomely fantastic. Now, I have had to go through the recipe and alter it slightly because of the oldie worldy English. It doesn't make sense. So the first thing the recipe calls for is 1.5 litres of ale. That is 3 bottles of ale, of beer. Now you can choose whichever type of beer you like, but I do find a good strong ale works really well with this recipe. So I've gone for Old Jock. It's a really good beer and it's full of Fuddles hops and just really ideal to carry this buttered beer flavour forward. So first thing we need to do is open up your 3 bottles of beer and pour them into your stock pot, your saucepan, without causing too much head and too much foam. Now the next thing we need to do with our buttered beer is to add the spices. Now there's quite a few spices you could add and you can add and come from the original recipe, but they all ask for a penny's worth of the spice. Now I have no idea how much nutmeg you could buy for a penny in 1588. But I'm assuming it wouldn't be a lot, especially for 1.5 litres of beer. It wouldn't be a whole nutmeg, say. It would be a sprinkle, a dash, a little bit, just enough to season the beer. So I'm going to be pouring in about a teaspoon's worth of my favourite spices and herbs. Now, I'm going to be adding nutmeg, because that's going to bring out this wonderful Christmassy flavour, and the nutmeg I think will really go with the Fuddles hops within this ale. Now you play around and choose your favourite spices. Fantastic. And because I'm aiming for a Christmas style beer here, I'm going to be adding some cinnamon as well and some ginger, all these lovely warming spices that will warm your cockles and tickle you from the inside and match the beer. Because you want to serve this beer warm as you would a mulled wine. So I'm thinking like the mulled wine flavour. So I'm thinking the mulled wine spice flavour coming through into the beer, into the buttered beer. And we'll come on to the buttered bit in a bit anyway. Now we need to sprinkle in about a teaspoon of your favourite spices. Ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, that's my choice. So sprinkle away, pour it in on top of the beer. And already the kitchen is being filled with this aroma of the spice. It's fantastic, amazing. So what we want to do now is shove this saucepan onto the heat and just warm through the beer for about 20 minutes. You do not want to bring this to the boil. Otherwise, the alcohol will evaporate and you'll be left with a kid's version of this drink, which you don't want. And the Old Jock I've chosen comes in about 6.2%. So this is going to be a hefty drink, especially 1.5 litres of it for me to drink this evening. Fantastic, and I can't wait to do a taste test with it after I've made it. Fantastic. Right then, get your saucepan onto the stove. Fantastic. And let it simmer away for about 20 minutes. Get all that spice infused into the beer. Whilst your lovely beer is simmering away on the heat, you want to prepare the next stage of this recipe for buttered beer. And that is to get some sugar and 3 egg yolks. Not the whites, but the yellow bit, the yolks that is. And mix them together. The recipe calls for 3 egg yolks and 200 grams of brown sugar. It's been years since I've done this, so I'm out of practice. Now egg whites are ideal for clearing wines, So if you have any wines that are stubborn to clear, use these egg whites now to go and clear your wines. Fantastic, multi-purpose, brilliant. If not, go make yourself a lovely fattening meringue. So into your 3 egg yolks, you want to pour 200 grams of brown sugar. So pour in your sugar into the egg yolks and start beating it, whisking it, mixing it until it gets all lovely, thick, creamy, rich. Let's see how it turns out. So what we need to do now is pour this lovely, thick, rich sugar egg yolk combination into the beer and the spice inside the saucepan. Amazing, fantastic. It's alchemy. It's playing around with really old recipes. Now I'm sure that they knew what they were doing back in Tudor times in 1588. They would not waste sugar, spice, beer and eggs if it wasn't going to be something worthwhile making. Especially if they were going to publish it in a household management book. No. So this recipe has to be worth it. I'm sure it must be. So let's shove this combination into the beer and spice. Now we need to turn the heat back on, but only very, very gently, because we do not want the sugar to catch the bottom of the pan before it's had a chance to dissolve. Or worse still, we do not want those eggs to start to scramble within the beer. Scrambled egg beer is not a recipe I fancy making. So turn the heat on and let it come to another rolling simmer, and then heat it up, heat it through again whilst we go and prepare the butter. So what we need to do now is get your butter, your unsalted butter, and dice it up into small little chunks, ready to add to the beer. There's nothing better than a knife and a block of lard to add to your beer. Fantastic. It makes no sense, does it? Why would you add butter or lard to your beer? Because the original recipe did say you can use lard as well, and that's just asking for a heart attack. Anyway, grab your unsalted butter or your lard and start dicing 100 grams worth into small chunks, ready to add to your beer. Yeah, I'm feeding this. Makes no sense. Why? With your portion of cholesterol all chopped up and diced, you want to add it to your alcohol. Favourite words of every heart surgeon: cholesterol and alcohol. So fantastic. Anyway, oh, the aroma is divine. It's delicious, I'm sure. And then we just simply need to turn the heat back on and let that butter melt into the beer. Have you ever had it before? And do you like this type of video, where I deviate from standard winemaking and explore a different version of alcohol, a different version of recipes, different version, maybe historical recipes? If you do, let me know down in the comments what you think. Because to be honest, I love messing around with old recipes, especially when they involve booze, alcohol, drink. Fantastic. So anyway, that is melting. And once the butter has melted into the beer, we need to simply let it simmer for about 10 minutes so that all the ingredients can merge together and become brilliant, beautiful friends, apparently. So that's simmering away, and I'll be back with you now when that's done, and then cooled slightly for a taste test. Awesome, and I cannot wait. Really, I cannot wait. So the butter has merged with the beer really well. And now it's looking like a semi-frothy, cholesterol, alcoholic, oily, rich, gunky. It's like chicken stock, where you get that layer of oil on top of the soup, on top of the stock. It's It's not the most appetising of things that I've brewed, and I've brewed some weird, wonderful stuff, and this isn't. And this does not look the most appetising of them, but that doesn't matter. It's about the taste. This is a Tudor recipe from 1588, so it's hard for us to compare our standards with their standards, but I think we should pour ourselves a glass and have the taste test. Fantastic, I can't wait. This is what I've been looking forward to all weekend. Brilliant. And it's only Friday evening. So, let me pour myself a glass. Fantastic, brilliant, fresh. Now, you should be drinking this warm, so the recipe states. Now that is rather murky and oily and greasy, not something that but doesn't matter. It's the taste, it's the process, it's the recipe, it's buttered beer. You get the aroma of the Fuddles hops coming through from the beer I used. Definitely that comes through on the nose, followed by all the spice. It certainly smells Christmassy with the nutmeg, that's hot, 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 cinnamon, and ginger coming through. It smells like mulled beer, but then you get this fatty after bite on the nose that really doesn't smell too bad actually. You get that, fat and sugar comes through, and that is a classic combination that excites the taste buds and says more, 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 and with the alcohol as well it says more, 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 more. So taste test coming through now. That is very, very pleasant. Very nice. I can see why this is a recipe. It deserves to be a recipe. It deserves to be a thing. Despite the appearances where it's this colour. It's not clear like our normal. Because if we compare the beer to this, I automatically want to drink this as being the better quality drink because it's clear, it's bright, it's shiny, it has a good appearance to it. But this is murky, it's dark, it's mank. Manky is the word to describe this. So appearances, not good. But then on the nose, it hits you. It's fantastic, it's lovely. But the taste is particularly the thing that gets me. Especially with it being hot as well. You get the richness of the butter coming through with the spice. I would add more spice next time, to be honest. Just give it that pep, a bit more ginger, a bit more cinnamon, a bit more nutmeg to make it even more Christmassy and festive. But it has this smoothness of the butter and the egg yolk, combined with the sugar and the beer and that alcoholic twang at the back of the nose. But it is 6.2% the beer I use, so it is definitely there. But the overall flavour, it's sweet, it's buttery. It's like eating Christmas cake mix before you bake it. When you've added the sugar and the fats, the butter, along with the spices and the fruit and the eggs, and it's just all there, and you take a big spoon and you eat it from the bowl before you bake it. It is that type of flavour that really hits you. I could easily serve this as an alternative to mulled wine. It would be a cheaper version than mulled wine because generally beer is cheaper, mass for mass, and people would be impressed. People would not expect a mulled buttered beer to be served to them when they come in through your doorway wanting a hot, spicy drink over winter. But saying that, the appearance lets it down. If I can tidy up the appearance somehow, we might be on to a winner. But how? That's the question. I don't know yet. I'm going to need to play around with this recipe and make it brilliant before I recommend it. That floating layer of oil on top, you can see it. that lets it down, that butter. It clings to the side of the glass with those legs which aren't alcohol. Yeah, it is cholesterol, heart attack waiting to happen, this. But heck, it's only Christmas once a year. So what do you think? Would you try this recipe as a change, as an alternative to mulled wine? If so, let me know down in the comments below, because I love hearing your feedback about these recipes. So until my next wine recipe, you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all really soon now. Have fun! I've got 1.5 litres of this stuff to drink. Nice.